So I checked out like the Odyssey, you know, I was kind of like on the fence about it, but the more I hear about it coming out, the more I don't want to ever see it. Like, I was wanting to watch it just to review it and talk about it like aesthetically because it's Christopher Nolan. At this point, I don't think I'm going to even go to watch it. But this is Nerdrotics, the Odyssey backlash goes nuclear. WTF Nolan. Yeah, he's fallen off. He's fallen off.
This idea was also explored in a book called Black Athena. I think people should read it, which argues that classical Greek culture is heavily indebted to Afro-Asiatic and Near Eastern roots. I actually taught Greek mythology to 8th graders. And so I covered this. So people that are saying that Helen of Troy could not possibly be played by a black woman don't know history.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Nerdrotic.com.
Like it's funny. Do cultures take inspiration from other cultures? Yes, they do. But I think the video just went public of it right now of watching, like, it was the Indra to Thor, I think it was, like the similarities between them. The reason why those types of things are similar is because the stories get told over and over. It's kind of like the old morality tales, like the Grimm tales, you know, that kind of stuff, where it's told just by father to son, mother to daughter, those stories that are constantly told over and over and over again that eventually get written down. And we never know the true origins of it, but most of them have like a morality message. And there are so many similarities between a lot of religions. Why? Because they all try to push a certain kind of message. To say, oh, it came from African culture, it's just sheer ridiculous. No, the Battle of Troy happened. Well, it actually happened. It just again, like, you look at the map, you're saying those people were African. If you look at the map, you're saying those people were African. Maybe one or two, possibly, but you're saying that the area that was at war was African. No, it was not. It was not.
You over 1 million practitioners of common sense, something that seems to be in short supply these days, and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. Without a doubt, Christopher Nolan is the king of Hollywood. He's not only its most notable director, he's the last movie star, the only guy in Tinseltown who can consistently put butts in seats on his name alone. And there's no better proof of that than Oppenheimer, a 3-hour biopic where a bunch of it's in black and white, people are just sitting around and talking, and it almost made $1 billion and won a lot of Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Nothing you guys don't know already, yet it doesn't make it any less insane, but that is the power of Nolan. That's why it's surprising to be in this unusual territory of having to talk about Christopher Nolan's name mired in controversy. And no, it's not because of the questionable sound mixing where you're watching some of his movies at home and you constantly have to have your finger on the volume button. And no, it's not because of some of the questionable science in Interstellar or the questionable quality of The Dark Knight Rises. And listen, there's no question that movie's terrible, because despite all of those things, Nolan movies make a lot of money, and he's got the biggest and most enthusiastic fan base I have ever seen for a director. And
crazy people, just like the Zack Snyder people, just like I don't believe in like idolizing a human being. You can respect their work, but you should never idolize a human being. Absolutely not. We are just frail. We're human beings. That's the problem. We're all human beings. We're all frail. We're going to die. You can respect what they say, but it's best to always have that kind of mindset for agree to disagree. You never want to 100% go down that like, oh, I'm gonna worship this person because I enjoy this. Like, no. They're a human being. They're flawed like everybody else.
Yes, I'm including Steven Spielberg from the 80s. Now, occasionally, they can make a Snyder Bro sound reasonable because they're passionate. That's why, to say the least, it's a bit odd with the Odyssey that Christopher Nolan, the big daddy of Hollywood, is playing the Hollywood game when he doesn't need to. People used to joke that Christopher Nolan could probably use a real atom bomb in Oppenheimer, and the truth is, if he really wanted one, they would find a way. So when some of the questionable casting of the Odyssey was announced, Christopher Nolan got something that he earned but Hollywood doesn't deserve, the benefit of the doubt. And let's face it, most of the casting is pretty good. Now, Matt Damon isn't anyone's first choice for Odysseus, but he's not bad. Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Anne Hathaway, John Bernthal, Mia Goth, James Remar, and even Charlize Theron, because the more time she spends on a set filming a movie is the less time she spends adopting children and changing them. But after that,
yeah, she has a habit of adopting black kids and then forcing them into transition while they're infants. All her children are transgender. I think the majority of them haven't even made it to like puberty yet, and they've already been put under the knife. That's how barbaric it is. That is how disgusting it is.
That it gets pretty bad. Let's face it, when people are overlooking Zendaya playing Athena, you're in trouble. I don't have anything against Zendaya, and I don't think she's as bad as Pedro Pascal. I am just curious as to why she gets cast in so many productions when she has the acting range of Tessa Thompson. Then there's John Leguizamo, who has consistently argued
Why does he got white face? Why does he got white face?
that Latinos should play Latino roles. By that logic, he shouldn't be playing Aeneas unless my geography's bad and Colombia is located in the Aegean Sea. Of course, there's rapper Travis Scott, who I'm totally familiar with, who was cast as the Bard, where Christopher Nolan said, I cast him because I wanted to nod towards the idea that this story has been handed down as oral poetry, which is analogous to rap.
Is it though?
If that's the case, I almost wish I was going to be around in a couple of thousand years as people pass on the oral history of Babies Got Back. Anyway, I think Asmongold has a better and more savage alternative casting for Travis Scott.
Maybe he should have cast Travis Scott as Hades. That way he could send people to the underworld like he did with Astroworld.
8 people in the crowd.
Oh no.
Then we get
So I think it was at his event where 8 people got trampled at one of his concerts or something. And yeah. That
to what may or may not be the worst of the casting. It has been rumored for months that Lupita Nyong'o is playing Helen of Troy, and just a couple of days ago, it was confirmed. The face that launched 1,000 ships and the face that was behind Will Smith right after he smacked the shit out of Chris Rock at the Oscars.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. I'm going to.
A decision that has earned the label the DEIC, and it's got everyone scratching their head and asking Christopher Nolan, what the are you doing? The man known for grounding things even with the wildest concepts. The guy committed to realism and technical craftsmanship goes full Netflix. From the same global entertainment industry that gave us Black Cleopatra, Black Little Mermaid, Black Anne Boleyn, Latina Snow White, Black Female Dwarves, Black Elves, Black Female Viking Queen Jarl Haken, and Black Snape. We get Black Helen of Troy, who is originally from Sparta, and I would expect this from the rest of Hollywood, but not from Chris Nolan. And that's why the rumor of Paige playing the ghost of Achilles, something that a lot of people thought was preposterous a few days ago, has now become believable. And the memes have been glorious.
That's
and on
about
top of
right.
that, Elon's been dunking it, and it actually made the news.
Famous Hollywood director Christopher Nolan, this guy right here, is making a movie based on the book, the poem, The Odyssey. And I'm not kidding when I say any of this. But the role of Achilles will reportedly be played by Paige.
Now, it has to be stated this has not been confirmed, but you can't blame anyone for believing it. Now, a lot of people think it's going to be Elpenor, a former crew member who died accidentally, who's begging Odysseus in the underworld to find his body so he can give him a proper burial. Or Paige could be playing Anticlea, Odysseus' mother, who Odysseus can call mommy. And yes, I had to look up how to pronounce these names because most of my bandwidth is used towards remembering Tolkien names, and if I get any of them wrong,
I don't care.
Speaking of Tolkien, things have gotten so bad that the Access Media feels they need to come in and sweep for Nolan. From Variety, The Odyssey, why Elon Musk and his troll army attacks aren't...
Nolan wanted the Oscar so bad he sold his artistic duty. Yeah. Honestly, I believe that. Well, he stole his realistic, like the realistic realistic authenticity, where it's like authentic to the reality of that point in time. He completely sold out because in order to actually win an Oscar now, you have to match all the boxes that, well, he's including in this movie, in this period piece. That's the downside. It's a period piece. What the heck? What the freaking heck?
Just silly, but wildly inaccurate. For starters, since the casting announcement, people have been roasting this movie long before Elon Musk chimed in. And if you're going to say the Trolls Army's attacks aren't just silly, but wildly inaccurate, I wouldn't have used the examples they're about to bring up. From the team that brought you Why is Snow White Latina? Why are there black people in the Rings of Power? And Star Wars has gone woke, comes the latest online onslaught against an anticipated Hollywood project that committed the unfathomable sin of having a diverse cast. Considering Snow White was 2025's biggest box office bomb, losing well over $200 million for Disney, with the Rings of Power Season 2, they lost 60% of their audience.
Yeah, it's funny. They're trying to use that as a win. It was like, oh, it's getting hate from all the wrong people. Or all the right people. Yeah, all the right people. You don't want the racists as long as the racists are coming after you, that means you're doing a good thing. Well, guess what? Apparently us racists know what's good because everything that we say is going to be bad ends up becoming absolute pig swell. Pigs will. Yeah, it's complete garbage. Complete another garbage. Not trash, which sometimes is enjoyable to watch. Like, it's fun to watch trash here and there. But no, this stuff is garbage. The stuff they've been making is garbage. It's something that's not actually worth the test of time. It's not something that's going to stand. Like, a piece of trash that's enjoyable. Super Mario Bros. From like 1992, 1993. Like, that I could see as just, it's a trash film. It's a trash film. But it's still a lot of fun to watch. The thing is, like, this is just outright garbage because it's all got some kind of nonsensical agenda in it. And I don't mind there being like biases in film, but they should always be a backseat to the actual story. The problem is the bias they have takes the forefront in everything. And it should never be. The story should never be driven by the bias. The bias should be a backseat to the story, if that makes any sense. The problem is the people who are doing the writing are complete retards that can't completely disassociate themselves from their ideologies, that their ideologies are what make them who they are. So, of course, that's the most important thing, rather than the characters, rather than the actual story there, because they can't write anything of substance without actually including every kind of toxic mindset they have.
From season 1, where the Hollywood Reporter, Variety's sister website, because they're all owned by the same company, Penske Media, reported for season 1, it only had a 37% completion rate, meaning 63% of the audience that started the season fell off. So they lost 60% from the season where they lost 63%.
60% of the time, it works every time.
And what are you doing bringing up Star Wars? It's in the worst shape it's ever been. How bad? Well, 2 years ago, your sister website, The Hollywood Reporter, had to ask, is Disney bad at making Star Wars? And the answer is yes, and it's only gotten worse since then. So the only thing being silly and wildly inaccurate.
Well, and the fact that I think they came out that they're going to completely retcon the entire Disney Star Wars. Like, they're planning on deleting The Force Awakens, the Last Jedi? What was it called? I've already forgotten. I've already completely forgotten the names of those Disney Star Wars films. They're going to completely 86 them from the menu. The problem is you can never remake the what was it called? The Legacy? I went through them. After Star Wars died, I stopped reading Star Wars books. But it was like the classic books based on like the future of like Luke Skywalker and his wife Mara Jade and his son Ben, because it makes sense that Luke Skywalker's son would be named Ben since he had a good connection with Ben Kenobi, when Han Solo and Leia Organa had no real connection with Ben Kenobi. So why the heck would she name her child Ben and Han name the child Ben when there's no real connection with Ben Kenobi? When it's just like the whole thing made no sense. And it's just, but you can't anymore. You can't. Carrie Fisher's gone. You can never redo. You've lost everything. No, I'll never go back to watching Star Wars. It used to be one of those things I'd watch every year. I'll never go back. And I don't care for what's coming out down the pipeline. I don't care if they're trying to redo it. It'll take a lot of work to ever get some fan base back. They'll have to start brand new.
Accurate here is you, the Access Media, which tracks
you were part of the
days, Twitter
63%
trolls have formed
of
a
leaving.
phalanx and pointed their Saracens squarely at the Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's $250 million adaptation of Homer's epic, scheduled to hit cinemas July 17th. They have not actually seen the film yet, mind you, but have nevertheless managed to work themselves into a lather over a pair of castings, though Paige's character isn't even confirmed yet. Paige as Achilles' ghost and Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy. Full disclosure, I didn't need to read that paragraph. I just wanted to get one more in. So sue me. Forget that Achilles and Helen of Troy are both fictional characters navigating a mythological fable replete with a giant cyclops, six-headed Skyla, and assorted other gods and monsters, or that these are just two actors in a giant cast that includes mostly white folks. And it's at this point we have to break out an old meme that still checks out. You can accept dragons, elves, and talking trees, but you can't accept a 2021 BMW 5 Series 530i with optional heated seating. Why are you so bigoted? Listen, my favorite part is the Paige as Achilles trying to open a jar of pickles meme actually made the article. Yes, I completely understand that this is not a historical tale. It is a mythological tale, but that mythology has a region/country of origin. And as far as I know, there isn't a single Greek actor cast in this film. In the prominent ensemble cast, yet it was important enough for Chris Nolan to build an actual ship that could withstand the chop of the Mediterranean in early spring, but also sail from Morocco to Greece to Italy as production moved location. For technical reasons, realism, but one of the major pitfalls of modern fantasy these days is a complete loss of immersion. Or, as our good friend Robert Meyer Burnett likes to say, verisimilitude. Maybe there won't be a day I won't have to break out this J.R.R. Tolkien quote about adaptation, but today is not that day.
The canons of narrative in any medium cannot be wholly different, and the failure of poor films is often precisely an exaggeration, and in the intrusion of unwarranted matter owing to not perceiving where the core of the original lies.
So Christopher Nolan thought it was prudent to...
You just have to remain faithful to the story, source material. Like, what made the Lord of the Rings trilogy so grand was Peter Jackson basically promised everyone that they're just going to do it by the book. By the book. Why The Hobbit didn't do as good is because they got away from that a bit. And The Hunt for Golem's going to be probably even worse. Probably even worse. I mean, The Rings of Power is already a sign of things to come. They don't care about the source material. They don't care about these the world. They're just trying to have their, like, I can understand people who want to write. Like, if I'm writing my books and then I see, oh, my story can fit in this world. It's not exactly the same. It's not a part of that world because I'm writing my own story. So I'll just have that world. Let me just put Star Wars in front of my book. You know, that kind of thing, which a lot of people seem to do that now, like Resident Evil. That's kind of what's happening. It's a person who created a zombie film, but just decided to put Resident Evil in front of it because guess what? Resident Evil is going to bring people to theaters. Even though a lot of Resident Evil seem to flop. But it's going to bring people to theaters because it's got a huge fan base. But eventually, that runs its course. That runs its course.
Build an actual seaworthy ship, which I think is cool as hell, by the way, and instruct composer Ludwig Göransson not to use an orchestra because they didn't have an orchestra back then. Instead, they're going to use 35 gongs run through a synthesizer because apparently they had synthesizers back then. Then you're not going to get the armor somewhat historically accurate.
What are they looking at? What are they looking at, guys? Should I be scared to click forward? Bro. Why did you have to do this to me? I'm gonna have a heart attack. Nolan, what are you doing to me? Let me get this straight. We've got full plate steel armor. For some reasons, they're fat. So we've got obese steel plate with a late 15th century Italian barbute helmet. This is the Bronze Age. What are you on? What are you doing?
And then there's the use of American accents with British actors who don't have them and somewhat modern vernacular, like Matt Damon yelling, "Let's go," or the use of the word dad or daddy. Based on what we've seen, this film is all over the place, so you can't blame people for thinking that the Odyssey looks awful. But aside from the questionable casting and the questionable costume choices and the overall inconsistency in adaptation, the other glaring red flag is the possibility that this film is based on Emily Wilson's 2017 translation of Homer's Odyssey through a feminist lens, something the professor of classical studies Emily Wilson kind of denies because we all know feminist activist academics are some of the most objective people in the world. I didn't want to be in any way untruthful or irresponsible about what the original text is saying or doing. I tried to think as much as I could about how my own identities and histories might affect my interestedness in the poem as a woman and as a gender-aware feminist.
Well.
Now, some people might say correctly that Nolan has never stated that his film is based on any singular translation or Emily Wilson's. Fair enough, but he has invoked her name twice in 2 separate interviews. From Empire magazine in November of 2025, I think it's the Emily Wilson translation that begins, "Tell me about a complicated band." And then from the recent Time magazine interview, he mentions her name again when referring to a line spoken by Odysseus. A line in Emily Wilson's translation sums him up. Lying, Odysseus replied, "I will tell you the truth completely." Now, I wouldn't want to necessarily say that's a smoking gun, just like I wouldn't want to condemn Christopher Nolan for walking in a woman's march surrounded by pussy hats that hopefully his wife made him go to. Again, you expect this from Hollywood and the entertainment industry in the UK, but you don't expect it from Chris Nolan. So again, I have to ask the question,
Why?
I was so excited about this movie. I bought my tickets.
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard about it, I was excited. Like, it was just I can't remember. The first trailer was just John Bernthal telling a story. That's how I think the trailer started. It only had like 5 to 6 scenes. You don't see any of the other nonsense. It was just John Bernthal talking. And I was like, oh, that actually seems pretty good. That seems pretty epic. I'm down for it. And then you start seeing the casting, and now it's the whole Harry Potter Black Snape situation all over again. Well, why can't people just have the source material, be the source material, and stay faithful to it? Why can't they just remain faithful to it? If you don't like it, write your own story. And there's nothing wrong. Guess what? I personally believe we need more people writing their own stories. And again, there are a lot of books out there. Like I come across so many books that are down my field that I actually enjoy. And a lot of them are things that I wouldn't have thought I would have liked beforehand. But it turns out that I like them. I like them. So I go through them. I go through them like crazy. But the thing is, it's just like, I'm more of a fan of a book. The problem is a lot of those people who have never written a day in their life call themselves writers, get hired on off of like X or Tumblr or whatever platform they're spreading nonsense about. Like, oh, I'm a writer. I run a blog. And then they get hired on to do to write the script for a massive film, a massive feature film. And then you end up with a massive piece of crap. Or people, you personally select people who absolutely despise the franchise to write your story. Instead of getting people who are like, oh, we got to be as absolutely faithful as possible. Are there times where you can get away from that and have it be good? Like, look at Blade from Marvel. Perfect casting with Wesley Snipes. Perfect casting. Was Blade black? No. But it was perfect casting and it worked. It worked. It wasn't an A-grade hero. It was a B-grade hero. And guess what? Because Wesley Snipes played him, the Blade became an A-grade hero at that point in time, especially when those films were coming out. Same thing with Nick Fury. Nick Fury was just a buff white dude. They put Samuel L. Jackson in the role, and immediately it gained so much of a following that they had to basically rewrite the old stories, and they just drew him black. They just drew him black because it was just like, you know what? He's perfect for the role. He became a massive character because of Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, Samuel Jackson. It's like my brain's shutting off. But yeah, there are cases where it does work, where you can change things around. But there are those people, like, you can never change Spider-Man. You can never change Superman. You can never change Batman. You can never change Luke Skywalker. You can never change Han Solo. You can never change Indiana Jones. There are those names that you can just never switch them with a different ethnicity at all. You just can't, because they're synonymous with them. They are. They are. I mean, even though Superman's an alien, he's still white. He's still white. But the thing is, people can still enjoy that stuff. Like, how many people have a poster of Vegeta or love Vegeta? All over the world. All different skin tones. They all love Vegeta.
Months ago for the 70mm IMAX showing here in town. Christopher Nolan.
My question is, who the F actually funds these projects? Surely they are at least enough self-aware to know that it's gonna be a loss, right? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I don't think they understand. Because the problem is, let's say you surround yourself with people who think exactly or similar to you do. If you're only ever surrounded by those people, you will only ever believe that 99% of the population believes what you say, believes what you do is just. That's the problem. That's why I don't like people getting integrated in their own communities. I think communities should intermingle and be able to talk to one another. Like me, when I go to work, I don't have a clique. I remember working as an usher at a movie theater when I lived in San Francisco. There were all these cliques that hated one another. I was someone who could wander from group to group to group without having to worry, because I didn't see myself as a part of their group. I never hung out with them outside of work because I'm just not that type of person. I'm an introvert. But I could move around because I didn't see it as that big a deal. I hated the concept of just being integrated into one group. I thought it was weird. But that's the problem, is like all these Hollywood elites are surrounded by Hollywood elites. They never hear rational thought. They never hear us plebeians telling them what's bad. All they hear is the other people that are rich and wealthy going, yes, yes, yes. That's the main issue. And when you're surrounded by a ton of people that think exactly the same, of course, you're going to be thinking that you're doing good.
Was essentially taking on high fantasy, the OG fantasy that's mythology, the Odyssey, and this is the first time it's getting a big budget Hollywood adaptation, something Hollywood has been sorely missing of late, not just the sword and sandals epic, but the Hollywood epic. And to be fair to Nolan, while the controversy has just recently hit the zeitgeist, and there's certainly some discourse on X, Twitter, and YouTube, if you go over to the Odyssey trailers, they are overwhelmingly liked. The IMAX showings were sold out a year in advance. Based on what I've seen with anybody else, I think this would be most surely a dumpster fire, but I don't know, it's tough to bet against Nolan. And for the people saying that this is going to be a flop, you might want to pump the brakes on that one. And if it was, I would be completely shocked. And hopefully this is much ado about nothing, and it's great. But I'm not loving what I see. And again, it's odd to see the Odyssey, I'll stop doing that, to see Christopher Nolan embroiled in the culture war. And now it's getting nuts. We got the history bros versus the Nolan bros versus the culture warriors, who some of them are Nolan bros, so they're conflicted. And it's definitely getting roasted on social media, including X, Twitter, and yes, Elon is still at it today. He and others have been saying Christopher Nolan is doing this to win awards. I disagree. Nolan doesn't need any more awards. He won them all with Oppenheimer alone. Let's just say the worst case scenarios are true. I think it's about the top dog of a dying industry reinforcing the bad ideas that led to the decline of Hollywood, which ultimately would be really disappointing. So the best way to shut everyone up will be if the movie's good. And it still wouldn't shut everyone up, but
it's Hollywood, baby. Nerdrotic.com.
It's Hollywood. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't have high hopes for it. I don't. But then again, for me, I think about half of the Nolan films I actually enjoy. About half. Basically. There are a lot of them that I just don't care for. That I just really don't care for. They're like, I understand how he likes the thought-provoking, how he likes the big brain stuff. But for me, it's just, I understood the type of director he was during Inception. And I absolutely despise that film. But the thing is, at the same time, he did good with, well, some of the Dark Knight. Not all of the Dark Knight, but some of the Dark Knight, because he ended up, the last film kind of was run into the ground after Heath Ledger kind of, you know, if Heath Ledger was still alive, it probably would have been a better film. It probably would have been a better film. But I gotta say, Christopher Nolan is one of those that, and I've never idolized directors. I think the only person that I truly ever really did respect was George Lucas. Why? Because he fought the system to make his movie, and then he became the system himself. He literally created what would be what he could have sold for like $80 billion. He could have sold his Lucasfilm, his Skywalker Ranch, you know, his film industry for $80 billion. But he chose to sell it for $4.5 billion and gave most of it away because no man can live could live several lifetimes on $4.5 billion. Does he probably regret doing that? Maybe. But at the same time, it's just like, I always respected how he got to that point. I never idolized him, but I respected how he got to that point because the prequels were bad films, still enjoyable trash. Like, to me, the prequels are fun trash to watch. They're fun trash. They're not garbage films. They're just fun trash. But a lot of, like that's the thing. I've understood that you shouldn't hold human beings in high esteem. You should never idolize people in general. Like, what is it? You never should... What's the saying? Never meet your heroes, that kind of thing. You should never idolize people. You should never have heroes. Sounds bad, but you probably shouldn't. You should just try to achieve the best you can for yourself, or have fictional characters be your heroes. You know, the perfect ideal person that you want to amount to, that you want to be. There are always those characters in stories which are perfect motivations for us plebeians.
Are you guys getting a video? It's so bad.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait on that.